Sequels are rarely as good as the originals. Many characters don't sign on for repeat appearance, and they often end up losing money. But apparently there's nothing Washington likes more than dusting off an old script and adding a new line or two. Sometimes it barely even needs to change the name. Both are countries which have been consuming America's attention for a while now.
The threat comes from Iraq.
Saddam Hussein aids and protects terrorists.
The coalition forces did not come to colonize Iraq. We came to overthrow a despotic regime.
Everywhere we go in the Middle East, it's Iran, Iran, Iran.
Major destabilizing influence in the Middle East.
Spread death, destruction, and chaos.
The leaders of Iran are racketeers.
Behind every problem is Iran.
So the scene is set. We have a visible villain in our story. Oh, and in case you're in any doubt as to who our hero is, well, who else but the one whose ambition has only ever been to throw off the shackles of injustice and make democratic dreams come true?
I think things have gotten so bad inside Iraq. From the standpoint of the Iraqi people, my belief is we will, in fact, be greeted as liberators.
Last night there was dancing in the streets in parts of Iraq. We have every expectation that people not only in Iraq but in Iran will view the American action last night as giving them freedom.
But our hero knows better than to go around attacking people without some kind of justification. It's not particularly diplomatic. So he gets trusted advisors to dig up something, anything really, that will make it sound like humanity is being saved. This is a blockbuster after all. There has to be an apocalypse.
Saddam Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass destruction.
Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. And as we came into office, Iran was on a pathway that had been provided by the nuclear deal, which clearly gave them the opportunity to have those nuclear weapons.
And all the while, he hopes that no one actually asks for anything concrete, because then he's just a man with a grudge.
US scrambling to establish a link between Iraq and Al-Qaeda is so far, frankly, unconvincing. Regime change does not stack up. It sounds like a grudge between Bush and Saddam.
We need to know what the evidence is, what led the administration to make, the president to make this decision. But I think this claim that his concern was to avoid war, I think most people would say that this has made war more likely.
So just to be on the safe side, he adds a little something extra, something he knows will appeal to the patriotism and emotions of the average voter.
If we're successful in Iraq, we will have struck a major blow right at the geographic base of the terrorists who have had us under assault for many years, but most especially on 9/11.
Assisted in the clandestine travel to Afghanistan of 10 of the 12 terrorists who carried out the September 11 terrorist attacks in the United States.
But there's a hitch. Every film has to have a moment where things aren't going the hero's way. Back in 2003, journalists, politicians and the public alike might have been beating the drums of war. But as time passed, questions were raised, and people increasingly saw through what had been, at best, circumstantial evidence. Fast forward, and now not everyone's willing to back the hero who tore up a nuclear deal, uses sanctions as a default foreign policy tool, and made the hashtag World War III trend on Twitter.
This is a US decision. It is not a decision taken by neither the global coalition nor NATO.
We have woken up to a more dangerous world.
The US action did not make it any easier to reduce tensions.
We urge all parties to de-escalate. Further conflict is in none of our interests.
More worryingly for the hero has an election coming up, the average voter's being a bit more cautious this time round. But despite all this, the hero's sure he's unbeatable. And why wouldn't he be? He's had ample experience after all. From Guatemala to the Congo, from the Dominican Republic to South Vietnam, from Brazil to Chile and Libya, from Iraq to Iran. You get the point. This hero's got good at shifting regimes around, in his favor, of course. In some ways, this is even a sequel within a sequel, because back in 1953, the CIA helped topple the democratically elected Iranian leader to protect, you guessed it, US oil interests. But despite all this, despite the sending of troops, the killing of civilians, the assassination of foreign officials, the hero maintains that he's not after blood. He's a man of peace.
We're doing everything we can to avoid war in Iraq. Our goal is peace.
We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war.
17 years, 3 presidents, and hundreds of thousands of casualties later. Sure, the faces have changed and the rhetoric's a little bit different, as will be, hopefully, the final outcome. But either way, you've got to admit, Washington could do with some variety in its storylines. After all, no one likes a dodgy sequel.